Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much for joining in today. And I'm sure a lot of parents are here. And we will be doing the webinar for the visas. Just to introduce myself, my name is Ritu Vasil. And I run my own company. It's called eduCROSSROADS Consulting. And I'm an IEC. I'm an independent education counselor. And also have my own visa practice. So I also do visas specifically for students. I don't do visitor visas. I don't do business visas. I only do visas for students. Plus, I have my own counseling practice. DK, can you just give me the sharing rights so that I can share the screen, please?
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
So this is what we are going to talk about today. As I said, I run my own company. This is called eduCROSSROADS Consulting. And today's webinar is specifically for visa, and that's what we will target today. We will hit that. Yes, this is the time for visa applications. I'm sure all the parents are running from pillar to post to kind of get the visas done for their kids. This webinar is, the objective of this webinar is to get you acclimatized to the process. And if you have any concerns, any questions specific to your country, I can help. So that is the objective. You can shoot out all the questions that you have, and I should be able to answer them. I only specifically do US, UK, Canada. That is the primary 3 destinations, but I also do Australia and Singapore to some extent. But primarily, this webinar is for US, UK, and Canada, and that's what we will be doing. Okay, so yes, it's tedious, it's overwhelming, and I'm sure a lot of financial documents to be acquired, lot of paperwork to be needed to be done, a lot of applications to be finished. It may sound very, very overwhelming, but don't worry, there is a process to it, and everything can be taken care of with precision, by paying attention to smallest of the details. And that's what we are going to do here. I'm going to give you a complete handout on what exactly would happen in each country visas. You should be taking some notes if possible, because I may not be able to repeat a lot of things. So if possible, please take your notes and start writing your questions and queries. I will be able to address everything after the session. This is what we will be covering today. Types of visas, steps in the visa application process, and the documents required. I'm going to scale down the entire process into multiple steps so that you can comprehend it easily and help yourselves. The first thing that we are going to do is United States of America, US. Most of the kids go to US, and that's what the primary destination is. So let's hit it out. Let's see what the US visas entail. These are the 3 types of US student visas that are prevalent: F1, J1, and M1. Now, most of our kids will go for F1 visas. They will not go for J1 and M1. F1 is a full-time student visas to students who are enrolled full-time in the academic programs will go for the F1 visa, whether it's an undergraduate program or graduate program. F1 visas is something that most of our kids will go for. J1 is only for those students who will go for the exchange programs or exchange or they're the returning students or the exchange students who are or maybe the researchers who are joining some universities for their short-term research programs, or maybe the professors. For them, it's a J1 visa. M1 visa is for those who are enrolled in the vocational and non-academic programs. which mainly be like, for example, somebody is going for a pilot program, flight schools, cooking courses, chef courses, cosmetology. All these programs will require the M1 visa. But primarily, we will look at the F1 visa today because that's what the most of our cohort is going for. So F1 visas is something that you should be looking at. To begin with, this is the application process. You have to get that's the first step. I will not even call it as a first step. I'll call it as a 0 step. Getting an I-20 is a 0 step. So when you accept the offer, when the kids accept the offer, the international student portals open up for each specific universities. And then you are asked to fill up certain forms, certain e-forms to request for an I-20. Now, DS-2019 is the form that you will request if you are going for a J1 visa, but for the F1 visa, you request I-20. I-20, when you're putting that request, you'll have to submit your financial documents, which is only the bank statement and the FDs. US Homeland Security, US visa authorities do not accept any other financial document other than bank statements, the bank loan approval letter, and the fixed deposits. Nothing else will work. No stocks, no stocks, no mutual funds, no investments, no ITRs. Only these 3 documents are acceptable. So you have to get your financial documents in place. And the declaration form is also there as a part of the e-forms that you will fill for requesting the I-20, which is basically your letter of financial support or declaring that declaration that you will be supporting your child with this amount of funds. Most of the times, the fund value that you need to show to request the I-20 is the first year tuition fee and the living expenses. And most of the times, this figure is already given on those e-forms, which will mention the bare minimum amount that you need to show. However, if you are only showing that much amount, it's a red flag. I always tell my parents to show a little bit extra. So if the requirement that it is showing, the form is showing to be about, say, $60,000 or $80,000, always show $10,000 to $20,000 more as your financial evidence. After the I-20 request form is sent, I-20 is issued by the universities in consultation with the visa authorities. I-20 is issued by the universities, and it usually takes about 10 days to reach the student. Once I-20 is received by you, then you submit the DS-160 form. DS-160 form is the form that you need to fill so there's a site where you go and fill the DS-160 form. It's a very detailed form and it needs a lot of information. So you have to be ready with that information and you submit the DS-160 form. It will also require the service ID number, which will be part of your I-20 that you will receive from the university. Once the DS-160 form is filled, then you pay the service fee, which is about $350 USD. You can actually interchange the 2 steps. You can pay service fee first and then submit DS-160 or vice versa. Both the steps are mandatory in the process. Once both DS-160 form is submitted and the service fee payment is done, then only you will be filling up the visa appointment application form. There's again another site where there is a visa appointment application that you will fill. There's a fee of 13,000, which you will about 13,440 rupees, which you will be paying. And once you pay that, then the appointment slots will be visible to you. The appointment slots for US visa have already opened up. The first lot got opened up yesterday, and periodically the more lots will be opened up by the embassy. So the sooner you apply, the better your chances are to getting the visa appointment dates earlier in the ring. So wait for your appointment slots, get your appointments. There are 2 appointment slots will be booked. One is the OF. So So there are 2 appointment slots, but only these centers, Mumbai, New Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Calcutta. These are the only 5 centers where you can book your appointments. 2 appointment slots. One is OFC, which is your biometric and or document drop, depending on the whether you are getting exempted from the biometrics or not. So OFC, which is a biometric or document drop. And the second is visa appointment. And you have to book both of them. You cannot just book one. So this is the process for US visas. Now, having said that, let's move to the other one, which is more tricky, which is trickier, which is slightly more complicated than US, though, and it's overwhelming. But yes, it is very important. So I'm going to explain this Canada visa to you, and this is something that if you are looking for Canada as an option, you should pay attention to, because Canada visa is not simple. Visa applications are not simple, and they require lots and lots of documentation. So those who are applying to Canada, please make sure that you are taking notes or you're listening attentively, because this is important. There are 2 types of Canadian student visas. One is called SDS visa and the other is called non-SDS visa. SDS visas, there are a certain set of countries, about 14 countries, India being one of them, where the students can apply for SDS visa. SDS visas are theoretically said to be faster, they are processed faster, but at the same point of time, it requires the first year tuition fee to be paid in advance. So though it is said that it's theoretically faster, but the last year was complete reversal, and non-SDS visas came much faster than the SDS visas. In fact, non-SDS visas came within a week, but SDS visas took 5 to 6 months. But that was last year. This year, and that was last year only. This was a complete reversal. This year and prior to last year's applications, SDS visas are said to be faster. But the only thing is that you'll have to pay first year fee in advance. That's the only difference between the documentation of SDS and non-SDS visas. So SDS visas, you need to pay 1 year of tuition fee in advance, and the receipt has to be attached with the visa application to be treated as an SDS application. Non-SDS visa is another form where all the other documents are required, and I'm now going to the document piece. But before I tell you about the visa application process for Canada and the extensive list of documents that are required, I must tell you what is the difference between temporary resident visa and study permit. And it's a very important point. The visa that is stamped on the passport is asked for, passport is requested for submission, and when the passport is returned, it has a stamp on it. That's a temporary resident visa. That stamp is only allowing you to enter Canada. Your study permit is handed over to you when you land in Canada. At the port of your entry, you will be handed over the study permit, which allows you to study in Canada. There are 2 very different documents, though the expiry date or the validity date will remain the same. But in some cases, in some random cases, this could also happen that your temporary resident visa may have a different validity date than the study permit validity date. So it's always important to make sure, as an international student, to have your valid study permit all the time. If your TRV is about to expire and study permit is also about to expire, always renew your study permit first and then renew your TRV. So remember this, these are 2 very different documents, and this difference everybody must understand and know. Now let's come to the application process for Canada. I'm only talking about Canada right now. This is the first step. On the IRCC website, you have to generate a GC key. GC key or activate the GC key. How you do it is you have to sign up for the GC key and you register there. So you sign up for the GC key and you kind of register yourself on the IRCC website through GC key. Once GC key is activated, there's a set of questionnaire that will be asked. The set of questions that will be asked in the form of questionnaire, which will give the embassy understanding of your application and what exactly you are going for. Once that questionnaire is submitted, you will get your document list. Now, document list will have 3 application forms: the financials, IELTS scores, academic transcripts. There are a lot of documents that will come in. And you have to just keep on adding those, uploading those documents to the application, fill up the 3 application forms that open up. And then once all the application forms are filled and uploaded, and all the documents are filled and are uploaded in the merged files, you may also need to compress certain files, because every upload is maximum 4 MB. So if you are doing financial documents and there are a lot of financial documents to be uploaded, merge them in one file and compress it if it's more than 4 MB. Once you've uploaded all the documents that are mentioned on the listing, then you submit your visa application. That's how you do it. Now, once the visa application, I'm going to talk about documents a little later, because there are extensive list of documents, especially the financial documents. But just to kind of finish up the process, once your application is submitted, then they will ask for the biometrics. So the IRCC will send you a biometric instruction letter, which will give you instructions to book your biometric appointment. A biometric appointment is booked at VFS Global. You take the appointment, you go for the biometrics, and that's about it. Once the biometrics are collated on your IRCC, and your medical and everything is collated on the IRCC portal, they will take a decision, and your decision will be again posted on the IRCC portal. But the decision will only say that once they will ask for your passport, that's the time when you can get relieved that your visa has been approved. Because if they are asking for the passport, that means that they have approved the visa. If they are not asking for the passport, then you just keep waiting. That's how it is. Canadian visas rejection rate is high. It's not US visas also get rejected, but Canadian visa rejection rates are higher than US, because there's a lot of documents that are required, and it is and they will scrutinize every single part of the application to see the red flags. So it's very important that we are very clear on what documents are required to complete our visa application. Touch wood, by God's grace, last 4 years, this is my fourth admission cycle, I did not get a single visa rejection. Now, these are the documents that are required for Canadian student visa. Academic transcripts, there is a letter of acceptance and offer letter. LOA is different than the offer letter. Usually when the universities, Canadian universities give the offer, they send the offer letter, and then they send the letter of acceptance. Both are important, and both must be uploaded, not a single page. It has to be both. So offer letter and letter of acceptance. In certain cases, for example, UBC, they're also issuing letter of enrollment, which is there on the SSC portal, and kids can download their letter of enrollment and attach to LOA and offer letter. So that is one. Academic transcript will be asked. When you're applying for the non-SDS, when you're not submitting the first year tuition fee receipt, academic transcripts are usually not shown on the document list. In that case, you have to upload the academic transcripts, the most recent ones, on the client information section. You will see that there is a lot of document listing that comes in. There's a section of client information upload. There, you will upload the statement of purpose, IELTS score, medical acknowledgement, as well as the academic transcript. In case if academic transcripts are not not mentioned as a separate upload on the documents. Financial evidence is very important. There's a GIC, which is the most critical part, and it should be there. Maybe your visa consultants may tell you that GIC is not important for non-SDS visas, but please do not listen. GIC is very, very important piece that must be there in your visa application. Now let's understand what GIC is. GIC is called Guaranteed Investment Certificate, and the GIC has to be done through any Canadian bank, Scotia Bank or Royal Bank of Canada or CIBC. Any of these banks will do your GIC. Even Indian banks like ICICI Bank or HDFC or Kotak Mahindra or SBI even, they also can issue you the GICs. Now, what happens in the GIC? You have to pay 10,000 Canadian. You have to open a GIC account in any of these banks, and you have to pay 10,000 Canadian dollars into that account. You have to transfer 10,000 Canadian dollars to the GIC account so that when the kid goes there, they have their 10,000 Canadian dollars intact. What will happen is that when the students go there and visit the branch, their GIC account in the branch, their checking account will also be open. And the 10,000 out of those 10,000 Canadian dollars already deposited in the GIC account, 2,000 Canadian dollars will be transferred to their checking account. And every month on month for a year, about $660 would be deposited in the checking account by the GIC. So that is how it works. It's very important to understand which bank you should get the GIC done from. Just to kind of tell you, for example, I have an account in ICICI Bank, and I go and I tell them that I want the GIC account to be open. ICICI Bank can say that fair enough, we can open the GIC account for you in the ICICI Bank down at Toronto, or in the ICICI Bank branch in Vancouver, which we don't have too many branches. There's only odd one branch maybe. But we must also consider that which bank branches are there on the campus. In UBC, we have Scotia Bank right on the campus. In Toronto, we have CIBC. In University of Toronto, we have CIBC right on the campus. Royal Bank of Canada right on the campus. Scotia is a little away. So keep that in mind. In ICICI Bank, if you open, the branch is only one branch is there in the downtown, which is very far from the University of Toronto. So you need to understand these dynamics also. Any which way. So this is GIC. Then there are bank statements. The Canadian authorities will look at bank statements. They will look at fixed deposits. They will look at loan approval letters. They will look at mutual funds. They will look at your PF and PPFs. They will look at your investment portfolios. They will also look at your property paper. So everything is important. On top of it, there has to be a CA attested net worth statement, which ideally should be attested by the CA, and a notarized letter of financial support. Letter of financial support can be self-attested, but I always advise to get it notarized because we don't want to give any red flag to the authorities. So all of this is important. Property papers are important, not only from displaying your financial standing, but also to establish roots to the country. So property papers are important. Remember, IELTS only. For the non-SDS visas, authorities, visa officers will still look at TOEFL. But for the SDS visas, the only English proficiency test that they will look at is IELTS. They will not look at anything else. So make sure that if Canada is the option, then the kids must take IELTS and not TOEFL anyhow. There's a digital photo. There is a medical exam. There is a digital photo that has to be also uploaded as a part of the document list. There are Canadian specifications, Canadian visa specifications that have to be adhered to, and the digital photo has to be uploaded. There's a medical exam which will be conducted only by the empaneled doctors from IRCC. And the list is available for each city. The list is available. The medical exam has to be done, and it has to be it has to, there's a medical acknowledgement slip that you will get, which has to be uploaded again on that visa application portal. If, for example, your program has a mandatory co-op or a mandatory work component, you will be asked in the questionnaire whether the program has a mandatory work, because in most of the programs, co-op is an optional. But if it's a mandatory requirement of the program, either a co-op term or some kind of work, then it will be mentioned in the letter of acceptance. And if it's mentioned in the letter of acceptance and you say it's a compulsory requirement to complete the degree, then on the visa application portal, when you're uploading the documents, they will also ask for the evidence of work as a mandatory component. When you are, how will you establish that evidence? Of course, your letter of acceptance will say that the work is required, so you will upload that. Also here, in addition to the letter of acceptance section where you have to upload LOA, but other than that, you should also visit your website, program website, and take a snapshot of the section which says that work is the required component of the program, or there is a mention of term 1, term 2, term 3 is co-op, term. So if there is a section which tells you that, please take a snapshot and also attach it to the document list. The most important part, and I cannot emphasize this more, the most important part of your visa application for Canada is statement of purpose. SOP is an extremely critical part because there is no interview. In US, we have visa interview, but in Canada, we don't have visa interview. So whatever we need to explain has to be through statement of purpose. Why this particular? So how do you start your statement of purpose? Who am I? What I'm capable of? What I have done so far? Why I want to study what I'm going to study for? Why in a particular university? Why in Canada? How does that study align with my career goals? What are those career goals? Why I am? Why not India? Why only Canada or only this particular university? Why not India? Why am I not studying in India? And even if I'm not studying in India and I'm going to study in the university in Canada, how will that program, that degree help me achieve my goals in India? Because I want to return to India to do certain things. So you have to mention this entire thing. Also, you have to establish your roots in the country through the SOP as well. So it's a very critical part, and most of the visa rejections happen because the rejection letter will say that we are not convinced that you will come back to your country. You will return to your country. We are not convinced. So that conviction has to come through your statement of purpose. So make sure that your SOP is very strong. I know it's weird. I know everybody knows that Canada gives you that peer advantage, and that's why kids are flocking towards Canada. Visa officers also know that, and PR is something that they themselves are giving. But in the SOP for the student visa, they need this to be specifically mentioned and addressed. So make sure that this is the part of your SOP. Of course, for the SDS visa, you have to pay the tuition fee receipt. Otherwise, only the deposit of 1,000 Canadian dollars is what you, in most of the universities, what you pay is okay. For this entire visa application fee is 150 Canadian dollars. So you submit the visa application fee. You submit the visa application after uploading all the documents and completing 3 application forms, and you kind of pay 150 Canadian dollars. There's a biometric fee for 85 Canadian dollars also. You pay the entire $235 dollars, and that's when you submit your visa application. So this is all about Canada. Then comes United Kingdom. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that needs to be addressed. I'm sure you all have so many questions to kind of talk about. Let me finish this PPT and then we can always have a discussion around the questions that may come here. This is about United Kingdom. Let's understand what UK is and how the UK visas happen. Unconditional offer letter is the first and the foremost thing that is required. We all know that UK universities give you conditional offers, and once so when you are given the conditional offers, and when all the offers on the UCAS has come, then you have to choose your firm choice and the insurance choice. The firm choice and the though they are all conditional, but you will still choose two universities, one as the firm and one as the insurance, and you will accept these universities on the offers from these universities on the UCAS portal. Once you have accepted the UCAS, the offers on the UCAS portal, there's always a deadline for accepting these offers. Once that is done, the universities are notified that this kid has accepted this as an insurance offer or this as a firm offer. And the notification will go to the universities. Universities will get in touch with you saying that you have accepted the offer and welcome on board. You start applying for your housing and other things. But at the same point of time, as and when your results come in, the final results. Now we know that CBSE and ISC has already declared the results. For the students, for the IBDP students or the A-level students or others, for the state board students, the results are still a little far off. So you submit your final results, or your school submits those official transcripts to the college, to the university, and the university will issue you the unconditional offer letter. Once the unconditional offer letter comes, then you pay the deposit and then you request for the CAS document. Now, CAS document, which is basically confirmation of acceptance of studies, will only come once the unconditional offer letter is issued by the university. Now, this CAS document will be issued by the university, and once you have received the CAS document, that is when you will apply for the UK visa. Now, what visa do we apply for? We apply for Tier 4 student visa application, Tier 4. Tier 4 student visa application that we apply for. There's a complete process. We go to the UK visa site and we apply. There's a one set of very elaborate, very information seeking visa application. During the process of visa application, in the midway somewhere, you will also have to pay the health surcharge, which is about 1,400 British pounds. So you will pay health charge as a part of the application. And then you proceed further, you complete the other sections of the application, then you pay the visa fee of 363 British pounds, and then you submit the application. Once you submit the application, you can book an appointment. And it will give you the document list. The portal will give you the document list which you need to submit at the time of your appointment. Premium booking is available for an additional fee where you can book the premium slots or the earlier slots for the interview. This is about the UK application. Very importantly, that some points to remember for the UK application. There's a 28-day rule. And there's also TB testing. So tuberculosis, so I'll explain the 28-day rule. But before that, for the UK universities, tuberculosis testing is a mandatory thing. There are again the doctors who are empaneled, the labs which are empaneled to conduct this TB testing. And that list is also available on site, on the website. So that is very important step. The other thing is the 28-day rule, the 28-day bank rule. In UK universities, again, only the banks, for the UK visas, again, only the bank statement or the FDs or the bank loan letter, a bank loan approval letter will work, nothing else will work. Only the bank statements or the FDs or the bank approval loan letter, bank loan approval letter. Now, the 28-day rule says that you have to, at the time of the application submission, at the time when you're submitting the application, your account, the bank statement that you're showing should not be more than, so should have had the funds for minimum 28 days, which means you cannot move a fund, even your fund cannot be lesser than the required amount even for a day. So your funds should at least be intact for, I tell my clients to at least have them intact for 1.5 months to 2 months. Do not move that fund at all. And that is what you should be doing. Do not move that fund for at least 1.5 to 2 months. So the rule says 28 days, but I would request you not to move that fund for at least 1.5 months. Tuition and how much fund you need to show? You have to show the tuition fee for a year. Now, tuition fee for a year is calculated like this. If you are doing study in London, London means also the 32 additional boroughs of London, on the outskirts of London. It's £1334 per month for up to 9 months. If you're doing courses outside London, then it's £1,023. That is what you do, plus the living expenses. Not only the tuition fee, plus the living expenses are also have to be done. So this is what bare minimum amount you're showing for the UK visas. And that's about it. This is because this was only for US, UK, and Canada. I have built this presentation. Of course, I do other than these 3 countries, I do Australia and Singapore. But then if there are specific questions, I would be able to address that. That's about it. Anything else? Then I can help with it. So this is the end of the presentation. I'm open for any questioning. You can ask me any questions. I'm open for questioning. If there are any particular questions, if you have missed out any information, then I'm happy to help. DK, you have to keep on asking questions, or maybe open the floor for all the 40 participants. Let them ask questions, whatever they want, however you want to.
We have a few questions in the Q&A. We have like 5 questions. So
so you can just, so let me read them out, and I think I'll be able to answer. So Anushka is saying that I'm a gap year student and my only condition for the UK was an English language test. I took the TOEFL test last year. My university has accepted it and said that I don't need to take IELTS, as it was mentioned on the CAS form that I have met my English language requirement. Do I still need to take the IELTS exam? No, you don't need to take the IELTS exam because you have already met that condition and your CAS form indicates that. So there is no need for you to take the IELTS exam, because in the document list, IELTS will not be there since you have already cleared that. I hope this answers your question, Anush. The second question is by Navya. Dear ma'am, we had a few specific questions. I have committed to UC Irvine and Imperial College London. Considering that Imperial is part of the UK academic system, my conditional offer would become unconditional between the first week of July and as late as August, if God forbid I just missed the condition. According to Imperial's website, in such a situation where the condition is just missed by a mark, we would have to wait till August, as we still may have a chance of admission. Based on this fact, I had few questions. Should we be applying for the US visa for UC Irvine beforehand, considering the admission process for Imperial can go as late as August? Yes, you should be applying for the US visa. It's always good to have one thing in hand. You can wait till Imperial offer comes in, but that will mean waiting for the visa till August, and that will be quite late for US at least. So you should be applying for the US visa, and then keep your fingers crossed for Imperial. If we eventually get a student visa for US and I'm admitted into Imperial, would there be an issue with the UK visa and we will be able to withdraw the US visa? Yes, you'll have to tell the authorities that and the university that you are not coming in now and you are withdrawing the F1 visa application. That can happen. I hope this was answered. The next question Neeti is asking, I'm not sure if you want to cover this in this session, but it would be great if you could spare some time and go over the OPT process in the US. Now, OPT is a different process altogether. OPT is called optional practical training, and for these STEM courses, it's so usually it's 1 year, but for the STEM courses, it's extended to 3 years. OPT has to be requested during your study. And we will take that session later. But yes, OPT has to be requested once you are in US and once you are in the process of completion of your degree. And that's when you start applying for the OPT. Somebody is saying, do you help in the interview? Yes, I help in the interview too. How long does a UK student visa generally take? It doesn't take long. As I said, for the UK, appointments are usually very fast. Appointment slots are plenty, and you will find the appointments very easily booked. And also, if you're having some difficulty in booking the appointments, you can always pay and buy the premium booking. So there's an additional fee for it. So that can be taken care of. Can we have 2 I-20s? Yes, you can have 2 I-20s, but it is not ethical. That is one. But still, you can have 2 I-20s, but you must start your visa process only through 1 I-20. You can procure as many I-20s as you want, which is not a right thing to do, in my opinion, because it's not ethical. You are taking up somebody else's seat. But at the same point of time, if you have 2 or 3 I-20s, it's okay. Do not just start your visa process with all of them. You have to start your visa process only with one of them. And you can always transfer your I-20. Even after the visa has come in, you can always transfer your I-20 to another university. For US visas procedure, if you have a tourist visa. Right, so if you have a tourist visa till last year, kids who had tourist visas, they were exempted from the interview, but this year, that's not the case. The interviews are going to happen for all of the kids. That's what we have been hearing, but the general trends have not started coming in. So we will not know. But as far as the information is concerned, it's being heard of that this year there will be no exemption from the visa interviews. To book USA appointment, we book it on their website, or we need to send someone personally. Everything is online. You need to book your appointment online. There are once you have submitted your deposited your service fee, and once you have submitted your DS-160 application, you start the visa appointment and visa appointment application, and then book your slots accordingly. Nothing is physical, everything is online. Hello, what all medical tests are needed for US? For the visa process, nothing. Other than your COVID report, which is required at the time of interview, you need not have any medical tests. But yes, it's always good to, universities may have a requirement. Universities may have a vaccination requirement. Universities may have a immunization record requirements. So you have to check with the universities. But for the visa purpose, only COVID report is required. COVID testing or the COVID vaccination certificate is required. Reasons for US visa rejection. Yes, as I said, US visas are also get rejected. And I keep praying that they don't. So far, God has been on our side and nothing got rejected. But yes, it's a reality. US, Canada, UK, the visas get rejected. The primary reason for the US visa rejection could be that they do not think that the degree that you are going for matches your academic background. They may also feel that your financials are not up to the place and you will not be able to support yourself. So there could be these reasons which may be treated as a red flag. Vinod is asking, if a Canadian visa is rejected, then what happens to the tuition fee already paid? Now, if the Canadian visa is rejected, the first step is to reapply, because most of the times, when you reapply, your application gets approved. So you reapply with better paperwork, with stronger SOP, and your visa gets approved. That is the first step. But if you feel that no, we don't want to reapply, or God forbid something happens and you don't want to join that university, only on the ground of visa rejection, your tuition fee is refunded and your GIC money is refunded. Only on the ground of visa rejection. You have to give the proof. If you say, I don't want to join the university now, but my visa got approved, then nothing is payable back to you. Can one change university in F1 after getting the visa for one university and then change later? Yes, that is possible, but it's a tedious process. You can always, even after your F1 comes in for a particular university, your F1 comes, you go there, and or maybe not even before going there, there's another university that you want to join in. You have to ask for the transfer of I-20. You cannot terminate an I-20. Remember this. You have to ask for the transfer of I-20. Your existing first university that you have, they will issue you a transfer form. They will fill a transfer form, and you have to, and they will submit it to the new university. The new university will then issue you a new I-20, basis on which you will request the visa official, visa authorities that, okay, I've got the new I-20, but and they will say that, okay, you've got the new I-20, they will change your records, but your F1 visa stamping on the passport remains in. Spring admits apply when? USC says October. Yes. As soon as you, spring admits are basically Jan admits. And as soon as, so October is a good idea because it's again three to 4 months before you, actually October, November, December. So about 3 months that you apply for the visa, which is a decent deal. Yes. So you can apply in October. What questions can be expected at the US visa interview, which is the best way to convince the officials that I intend to come back as I have strong roots here? So of course, this is something that every US visa official will ask. Do not say that I have lots of relatives. Please do not mention that. Unless and until specifically asked, you just say, yes, my very distant cousin lives there, and that's about it. Do not mention that a lot of relatives, my mama and my chacha and my, maybe not parents, because parents are here, but not your close relatives will stay there. That is very important to establish the roots in the country. Plus, they will also ask about the university that you're going to. So you should be knowing what program you are going for, why you are going to do, why you're going for that program, what are your long-term goals, where does your father work, what is your financial standing. They will also see the financial documents that you had submitted during your I-20 request. So sometimes, most of the times, parents will say that, okay, for the I-20, I will get the financial documents, we'll submit the request, and then we will like maneuver the funds here or there, and we will play with those funds. Don't do that, because the visa official during the interview will ask for the financial documents that you submitted during your I-20 request. And it has to be updated, because I-20 was submitted about 3 months ago. So it has to be updated to the date, but you cannot show lot of fund movement. So make sure that the financial documents are intact. My son's passport has ECR stamp. It's very important question, and I face this a lot of times. My son's passport has an ECR stamp. Is this a concern if he's going for a US F1 visa? Do you recommend applying for the passport renewal after US visa is issued? I would say before that. ECR stamp does not impact the US visas. Of course, if the kids are going to work in some in countries like Dubai or UAE or certain other segment of countries in that part of the world, then it will be an issue. For the Canada or US, ECR stamping is not an issue, but it is still a red flag. And I tell you why it is a red flag. Why is ECR Why is the passport stamped ECR? Because you have not submitted your 10th grade marks during the passport application. And that's why the passport is stamped as ECR. Now, ECR is basically immigration check required. And that's why it's stamped as ECR. So if your passport has an ECR stamp, your US visa officer may ask, why this ECR? Why was 10 standard results not submitted? Can you show the 10 standard results? So it's still an additional point of questioning that can emerge. We cannot predict anything, but it's an additional point of questioning that can emerge. And that's why I've always advised my kids to have the ECR stamp removed from their passports before they go for the visa process. But if it's late, then let it be, then let it go. Our account for visa slot booking is locked for 72 hours. I know, because you would have taken multiple attempts in booking an appointment. So it will be locked for 72 hours, but it will get opened up. And once it opens up, please, because I think there are only 5 attempts in a day that you can make. If you have made more, then it will be blocked. So re-log in after 72 hours and you will be able to get it. Last year, I was supposed to study at Boston College, but my US F1 visa was put under administrative processing under the 221G. I have my US visa now, but will no longer be studying in the US. Do I have to cancel my US visa? Yes, you have to cancel your US visa before you apply for the UK visa. Yes, you should. You should inform the authorities. How many times can we try slot booking in a day? As I said, 5 times. Do not attempt more. Your login will be blocked for 72 hours, as the other gentleman mentioned. Are there any specific vaccinations for US visa that need to be done beforehand? As I said, you have to, only COVID vaccination is a requirement for the visas, but the university may have specific requirements. So you need to check the university's pre-enrollment tasks, the university that you have been admitted to, check their pre-enrollment tasks, and you will see the immunization record or the vaccinations that you need to have. Otherwise, flu vaccine is very important. Please make sure that everybody, the children who go there, should have at least a flu vaccine done. What all documents should be carried for the US visa interview? There will be a lot of documents. Your DS-160 confirmation page, your service fee payment receipt, your academic transcripts, your financial documents, your US visa appointment confirmation. All of that should be taken care of. All of those documents should be carried when you are going for the US visa interview. Will there be a visa interview for UK? There will be, but it's very simple. It is just 1 or 2 questions that they will ask and they will grant the UK visa. It's not as extensive as the US. Is F1 visa applicable for all US universities? Still waitlisted. So you have to, as I said, if you are still waitlisted at any university, you cannot request for the I-20 from there. I-20 can only be requested once you accept the offer. And once the I-20 comes in, then only you start your F1 visa requirement. But if you have already got I-20 from a university which is not your first preference and you're still waiting for the waitlisted one, then also you can start your F1 visa process and then later apply for the transfer of I-20. But as I said, that's very tedious. So if it's better to wait than to apply for the, because your F1 visa is associated to a particular university. And unless and until you apply for the transfer of I-20 and authorities are not aware of it, it becomes a challenge. So it's a thin line. So please walk carefully. How long does the US visa take to arrive after the interview? So on the interview date itself, the US visa officer will say or will kind of notify you that your visa has been approved. And they will take your passport for the stamping. Once they take your passport for the stamping, it takes about a week to 10 days for the passport to be returned. About 10 days, 10 business days for the passport to be returned. How long does it take to arrive for the interview? After the interview, you're still awaiting the receipt of the I-20. So yes, so wait for the I-20, then apply for the visa, and then that. What are your fees structure for interview preparation? Please connect with me. I have already given my number on the slides. If you need any customized preparation or any customized help or support for the visa applications, you can connect with me on the number set. Additionally, I've also accepted my offer at USC, but my US visa annotation and the service is still under what? How do I go about transferring the I-20? This is also in case my UK visa gets rejected, and I would also like to know what the... So UK visa rate of rejection is very low, lower than the US and the Canadian visas. So I don't think that should be a problem. So you have already accepted the offer by you at USC, but the US visa annotation and the service is still under Boston College. Where do you want to go? Answer that question first. Is USC your primary destination? Then you have to transfer your I-20. So ask that question. If you really want to go for USC or you want to wait for Imperial or another university in the UK, first answer that question. Then based on your answer, then you request for the I-20 in case, because I-20 request will be very, very important. I-20 transfer request will be important if you really want to join USC and do not want to get Boston under the foot. Please mention what, and you can, Anushka, you can also get in touch with me separately and I will be able to advise. But this is what it is. I'll have to check all the documents to see what is the best foot forward. Please mention what is the next step after paying service fee. Like we shall receive an intimation from the US Embassy or we need to do it manually by going on the website. You have to pay the service fee online. Once you pay the service fee online, that's the time when you will get the receipt online on your mail ID. And then you do your DS-160 and then you book your appointment. That's about it. You will receive the intimation in a form of the receipt that you have paid the service fee or the I-901 confirmation. What all medical tests are required for UK? Only TB, nothing else. So you need to get the TB tested. That's it. What docs to be submitted on biometric day and what else to take for the interview for the US visas. I've already told that what kind of documents have to be taken at the US interviews. Once you block the appointment date for US, you will know what all documents. There will be a written set of documents that will be listed. You take those, plus you take additional documents like your academic transcripts, your financial documents that you submitted during your I-20, your COVID certificate, all those things have to be taken. When does the UK visa process start? The UK visa process starts 3 months in advance. And 3 months in advance, your CAS document will also reach about 3 to 4 months in advance. And then you can start the UK visa. For UK, should we keep the deposit in the bank now for the next 2 months? Yes. If you are submitting your visa application after a month and a half, then you should keep the deposit in the bank now. So not after the visa form is submitted. Your fund has to be in your bank the bare minimum required fund. More you show, better it is. But the bare minimum fund requirement has to be there in your bank at least 28 days before the visa application. I would not say 28 days because sometimes the calculation, the time zone difference and all that matters. So make sure that at least one month or 1.5 months is where you are keeping your funds. My daughter's I-20 says she's English proficient. Does that fulfill the requirement of English literacy? She's an IBDB student. If my daughter has enough money, FD on her own, we can simply show that as a proof of finance from the bank. Is this okay? What can be given as a proof of intention to return back? Okay. Yes, because your child is an IBDP student, and the I-20 says that she has English proficiency, which is fine. But sometimes, and during the visa application process, there is no way you're uploading the TOEFL or the IELTS scores, which is fine. So you can still apply without the TOEFL scores or without the IELTS scores. That is okay. If my daughter has enough money, FD of her own, we can simply show that as a proof of finance. Yes, you can show that as a proof of finance, provided it is ample funding. Not only the 1 year of minimum funding. If it's an ample funding, you can show it as a personal finance or personal statement and not the family funding while you are that you can do that. But at the same point of time, if you have already procured I-20, then the financial document submitted during that process, when you have requested for I-20, is the one that will be shown to the visa officer. So if at that point of time, your proof of funding was the parents' funding and not the child's funding, then make sure that it's only parents' funding that you're showing at the visa office during the visa interview. What can be given as a proof of intention to return back? Proof of intention would be your long-term goals, your career objectives in India, and how the education that you are gathering there would be good enough to fulfill your career goals in India. Your roots in India have to be established in terms of your old parents, grandparents, love, bonding, family, property, your need to come back. All of this has to be explained. Most of the times, US visa officers will not ask such questions. It's not Canadian visa where you have to actually mention all of that in the SOP. So if they ask, then during the visa interview preparation, all these questions will be addressed. Can parents be there along with the kids during US interview? No, they can't be. Only kids will be allowed inside. Parents will not even be allowed inside the premises. So kids will have to go on their own. Both my kids are going to US, one for master's, another for undergrad. For I-20, the bank statement submitted is the same. Is that okay? Yes, it is okay. But then show the funds not for one, but for two. So do not show only 1 year fee, sufficient funds, and then use it for both the kids. So at least show 2 years of funding. How long? How long does the US visa take to arrive after the interview? As I said, about 10 days, 10 business days. If I cancel my US, Anushka has been asking questions. Anushka, you can get in touch with me because your questions are slightly technical in nature. They're not generic. If I cancel my US visa and my UK visa is also rejected, yes, then you are in a fix. So then you have to, so that's what, you have to really make up your mind and put your best foot forward. You cannot sail in two boats. If your I-20 from a university is in process and then you get accepted into your waitlist and commit there and withdraw from the initial one, would you be able to apply for another I-20? As I said, you have to transfer. You cannot stop the process of the first I-20. If your I-20 is yet not received, then you can say, you can request the university not to send the I-20 because you've got into another university, and then request I-20 from that university. But but if you have already got the I-20, then you can ask the transfer. See, it will become tedious or more complicated if you have already applied for the visa. I-20, you can get as many, but when you apply for the visa, you use only one I-20. You don't use all the I-20s. So if you are getting a lot of I-20s, fine, fair enough. If you've got two I-20s, it's okay. But you only start the visa process with one, because the transfer of I-20 happens only if you have the F1 visa granted, or you've already submitted the application. Then you can request for the transfer of I-20. Otherwise, there's no need. I think that's about it. UK visa, parents' bank statement is necessary. A grandfather's bank statement will also do. Ideally, parents, but grandparents is also fine. There is a declaration form in the UK visa that you need to sign, where you have to say that grandfather is supporting the education, and that's how it is. So it's possible. Ideally, I would want parents, but then, yeah, you can do grandparents. What is the process if my son already has a B1, B2? So there's no conversion of B1, B2 to student visa. Student visa is F1 visa, it's a separate visa. Once the F1 visa comes in, your B1, B2 will become invalid, null and void. So your student visa is a separate application. There's no conversion. You'll have to submit a separate application for F1 visa. If the US visa gets rejected, then reapply. And also, I've always told my kids to always have one backup ready in a different country. Always have one backup in a different country. It may be India also, but always have one backup ready. For COVID certification, is the booster dose necessary? Two doses minimum. It is okay for not, so as of now, the rule is two vaccinations, 2 doses. Booster dose is not necessary right now, but it's for your own safety. If you want to have the booster dose, please go ahead and have it. Including everything, how long is the US visa process? Right from requesting the I-20 to the US appointments and getting the US visa in hand, about 1.5 months. Again, depending on how fast or how closer your appointment slots will be. For US visa, for USA COVID certification, the booster dose, as I just answered this. For US visa, is it necessary to show intent to return the country? Yes, if they ask, you must. And that's about it. I don't see any other questions. I hope I was able to answer all your questions. Anything else that's about it? DK, are we done? Should we call it a day?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, parents. And I hope I was able to address your questions. In case if you have any particular questions pertaining to your visa process, this is the number on my screen. You can always get in touch with me and I'll be able to help. Thank you so much. I shall be, and you can. Shall I end it?
Yes, ma'am. You can end the meeting, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.